What's up? I'm Coach Dan Blewett. I'm a former pro pitcher. In today's video, let's talk about should you change your pitching plan with each individual hitter, or should you always stick to a sort of universal plan that you've created for yourself? All right, if you're new here, I'm Coach Dan. Check out the links in the description below where you'll find my 2 pitching books, soon to be a 3rd, my online courses, other videos that are related to this video here today. So we're going to talk about, I got a YouTube comment about this, talking about a universal pitching plan, that a pitcher should never deviate from it. He should have his plan and stick to it no matter the hitter, that the hitter doesn't matter. And that's nonsense. So we're going to talk about why I think that comment was nonsense and why I think it's important to have a plan, but also adjust during the game. Okay, so what does a pitching plan look like? A pitching plan looks like an inventory of what you're good at as a pitcher. So are you good at commanding the outer half more so than the inner half? Do you have a really good fastball or a really weak fastball? Do you have a curveball that you can throw for strikes a lot? Or is your curveball pretty good but you can't throw for strikes that frequently? What's your arsenal? How many hitters do you walk? Do you get ahead in the count very well? How do you tend to get outs? That's the biggest thing. So for me, I'll give you an example. I was a pretty hard thrower, at least back in the day. It's hard to be a hard thrower today. I had a pretty good spin rate, so my fastball seemed like it rised, so I could get a lot of fly ball outs and strikeouts, but I had a really tough time getting ground ball outs. When I pitched down the zone, I got hurt. When I pitched up in the zone, I was very, very successful. When I pitched away, I got hurt a lot more. And when I pitched in, I was very, very successful. I couldn't throw my curveball for a strike that well. I could throw my changeup for a strike reasonably well, but I didn't need it as much. And so all those things folded into an attack plan for me, which was be aggressive really early in the count, a little bit up, kind of like in the belt, in the middle of the plate, because I was good at getting ahead in the count. Then when I get a strike, we're going to go in on guys. We're going to start going up, and then we can beat them with a curveball down if they're a righty, beat them with a fastball up, beat them with a changeup down if they're a lefty, or beat them with a cutter in if they're a lefty. That was sort of my plan. Now, even though that was my plan and my fastball was my best pitch, I would still adjust, and I watched all my teammates in pro ball adjust based on different hitters and their tendencies. Sometimes you have guys that are really good at ambushing a first pitch fastball, which I would often throw. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, okay, this is my strength, this is also his strength. Is it okay to go ahead and just go strength to strength? And a lot of times it is, but sometimes it's not. So sometimes that's kind of likely for me to get hurt if this guy has got really good bat speed and really is aggressive, trying to take you deep almost on the first pitch. So you have to ask yourself sometimes, okay, should I deviate from my typical first pitch fastball plan and maybe throw him a changeup or a cutter or a curveball, something that I can get over, but is maybe gonna throw him off a little bit, and then I can kind of go about business as usual. So the number one thing here is, or the first thing, is understanding hitter tendencies. You'll get hitters who are very ambushy on the first pitch. You'll get hitters who are very quiet and patient on the first pitch. So if you know a hitter always takes the first pitch, or takes the first pitch maybe 3 out of 4 at bats, that's going to be important for you. You're not going to need to throw him a slider first pitch that you might normally throw to that guy. Or you're not going to need to go on the corners very often to him because he's going to give you free strikes all the time. So to say, okay, I'm always throwing, sliders when the guys are pretty tough early in the count, that would be a bad universal when you know a guy takes a lot more than he swings. Sometimes hitters are very obviously bad breaking ball hitters. And so for me, my breaking ball was really, really sharp, but it was a weakness throwing it for called strikes. So for a guy that has that weakness of breaking balls, well, it probably doesn't make sense for me to throw him breaking balls early because I'm unlikely to throw him for strikes, but my breaking ball is pretty good. So if I can get ahead of him, now we can start to bounce some, which I'm pretty good at, and I can get him to wave at him and strike out probably pretty easily that way. So I might throw more breaking balls to a guy who's not good at him, which should seem like an obvious thing to do, right? It doesn't take a lot of calculation. So you're also going to adjust based on their stance. So say you love going in on hitters. I also really liked pitching inside hitters. I was good at it. It was effective for me. If a guy stands really far off the plate and maybe he's really geared up approach-wise to hit that inside pitch, so if he's pretty far off the plate and now the inner third is effectively like the inner half to him, well, I need to rethink about whether it's really good for me to pitch to the inside part of the plate. I could pitch off the plate, but I'm not going to get strikes. And if I pitch on the way of the plate where I need called strikes, he's probably going to hurt me. So that's a situation where I might say, okay, this guy's really far off the plate, so I'm just going to take what he gives me and go away, even though ordinarily they might not be bad for me, or that might be bad for me, but now because of his stance and his approach, that's probably going to be a pretty safe zone for me today. The other thing is sometimes what the umpire gives you. Now you don't want to go, I really don't advocate for changing what you do based on the umpire, but sometimes that can be necessary too. So if an umpire really refuses to call an inside pitch, a strike, which sometimes happens, sometimes you have to be like, okay, maybe I'm going to go for the inner half and get a couple, steal a couple of ones in, in like some counts, and then try to get the umpire to come around, or maybe I need to abandon a little bit, or only go inside when I have a couple strikes and the hitter's going to be forced to swing. The hitter's swing can help you a lot. And so if the umpire is not going to call an inside pitch, which sometimes does happen, or maybe they're not giving you anything away, you can say, okay, I need to rely a little more on swings today than called strike location, so I need to adjust where I set up accordingly. You're also going to adjust based on the hitter's strengths. So if you have a hitter that can really, really hurt you, and you don't want to miss on the inner part of the plate because he might take you deep, then you might need to adjust your plan that day. Maybe you throw a couple more off-speed pitches early in the count, or maybe you do other things to try to slow his bat down early, so then by the time you do go into him, he's kind of slowed down, and it's a little more likely that you're going to jam him. There's lots of times where a hitter has a really weird stance, a really obvious approach, or just he's really dangerous, and you need to adjust a little bit according to him. Now, you don't want to go start throwing him your weaknesses, like throwing a breaking ball that you can't reliably throw for a called strike or whatever, but you do want to say, try to find the balance of risk and reward, matching your strength with his weakness. And lastly, sometimes you do need to adjust to the ballpark, and this is going to be less relevant in amateur baseball, more relevant in high school baseball, a little less so in college and pro ball, but I'll give you an example. So one day towards the end of one of my seasons, I was pitching at a ballpark where it was really short to right. So it was like 285 to right, 340 to the power alley, which is really, really dangerous because hitters consistently fly out more so to right center and left center than they do down the lines. And so 340 to a power alley is like, I mean, they hit a ball almost medium and it's going to go out to right center. So I was pitching to this lefty who had 20 home runs on the year, and I decided that I wanted to go in with him and throw him a cutter, which that was a pitch that if I had executed well, could jam him. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go. I went away early, and then I decided to go in with a cutter a little bit later. Well, I threw a cutter that didn't cut, and he hit basically a line drive home run to right center. That would not have been a home run otherwise. So in that situation, late in the game, and the detail that I left out of this explanation is that in left field, it's really, really deep. It's like 340 to the line. It's like 390 to the power alley, and the ball just does not carry well. This is a well-known fact. We'd played this ballpark many, many times, this team in our league. And so basically righties never hit home runs to left center. And so a lefty was certainly, I don't think I'd ever seen a lefty go opposite field home run. So this was a dangerous hitter who could go easily pull side for a home run, even a cheapie, and would have had to absolutely destroy like his hardest hit ball to the opposite field the whole season to hit a home run, or even to hit it over the outfielder's head to left field. So you can ask yourself, I'm sure you can figure this out yourself, is that what's the risk and reward of going cutter in when you could miss and give up a bomb versus just going fastball away, where now he's got to absolutely tattoo it to get it over my outfielder's head, or certainly to put it out like he did over there. So in that situation, you'd probably say, you know what? I could throw this cutter, and if I executed, great, I'd probably get him, I'd probably break his bat, but the downside risk is really big. Whereas if I go away, probably the biggest thing I risk is a double line drive down the line or a single over my shortstop's head. And the upside is that he's probably going to fly out or ground out. So the likelihood that he could take me deep opposite field was almost zero. The likelihood he could take me deep with a mistake inside, or even a good pitch inside because of how shallow it was, he didn't have to hit it perfect, was very, very high. So sometimes like that, and you'll see fields like this in high school where you have a weird field that it's adjacent to a soccer field, so right field is like tiny, left field is so far away, whatever. There's really strange fields in high school baseball because they have to fit in wherever. When you're in those situations, you should ask yourself sometimes, where do I want to get beat? Should I take my chances, or should I make him beat me to the big part of the field? Sometimes that is a major consideration in your pitch calling because, again, there's risk. Every pitch is a risk and reward, and when you have dangerous hitters with a lot of power, you have to start to sometimes think about the fences as part of your strategy and your overall plan. So hopefully this video helped. It's really important just to have an idea and have conviction behind every pitch you throw, an inventory of your strengths and your weaknesses, and also an idea of what's happening around you, the strengths and weaknesses of hitters, the game situations, the ballpark, all these different things. They can factor into your plan and whether you're going to change it or stick with it on the fly. All right. So thanks for watching. Again, check out the description below. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, so you're here when I put up my next pitching video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.